Imagine this. It's 9:12 a.m. on a Tuesday morning, and you're already dreading the day. Because somewhere in that open plan office, behind that glass partition at the head of that conference table, is a person who seems to have made it their personal mission to drain every drop of energy from your body. Maybe it's the boss who turns a deadline reminder into a public roast. Maybe it's the colleague who weaponizes every meeting with passive-aggressive digs. Maybe it's the teammate who sends emails at 11 p.m. that feel less like communication and more like a declaration of war. Whatever their flavor of toxicity, they leave you biologically activated, heart pounding, palm sweating, mind replaying every word they said long after you've left the building. If that hits close to home, stay right here, because what we're about to share is going to change the way you walk into that room forever. The science. Mirror neurons. Here's what's happening inside your nervous system when a toxic personality enters the room. In 1992, Italian neurophysiologist Giacomo Rizzolatti discovered something extraordinary. He found that when we observe another person perform an action or even express an emotion, a specific class of neurons in our own brain fires as if we were performing that same action ourselves. We called them mirror neurons. This is why you wince when you see someone stub their toe. This is why yawns are contagious. And this is why one aggressive, dysregulated person can hijack the emotional state of an entire room. When your aggressor ramps up, your mirror neurons fire in sync. Your cortisol spikes. Your prefrontal cortex, the part responsible for rational thought, begins to go offline. You're not just watching the conflict. Biologically, you're inside it. But here's the brilliant counterintuitive truth. The same mechanism that makes you vulnerable to their chaos can be engineered by you to diffuse it. The promise, the similarity attraction effect. Decades of social psychology research point to what's known as the similarity attraction effect. We are neurologically wired to feel safer around people who feel familiar to us, people who move like us, speak like us, breathe like us. The mirroring technique weaponizes this effect. By subtly, deliberately matching the physical and verbal patterns of an aggressive personality, you short-circuit their defensive system. Their subconscious registers you not as an adversary, but as an ally. No confrontation, no retreat, just a silent, science-backed redirect. This is your silent superpower, and today we're going to build it, module by module. Spinal alignment and shoulder width matching. Let's start with the foundation, your physical presence. When a toxic personality enters the room, they typically arrive in one of two postures, either overexpanded, taking up space, leaning forward, puffed out, or coiled, tight, shoulders raised like a spring ready to snap. Your instinct as a sensitive person is to contract, to make yourself small, to not take up too much space. We're going to override that instinct, gradually, subtly, with precision. Step 1, match their spinal extension. If they're sitting forward, you sit slightly forward. If they're standing at full height, you gently elongate your own spine, not mirroring to the point of parity, but calibrating to their physical register. This is not mimicry, this is tuning. Think of it like a radio dial. You're not trying to become them, you're adjusting your frequency to catch their signal. The moment they detect that signal being reflected back, their defensive system gets a subtle message, threat level lowering. Subtlety note. Always introduce physical adjustments with a 5 to 7 second delay. Never mirror in real time. The lag prevents detection and makes the synchrony feel organic, not theatrical. Rhythmic breathing synchronization. Here's a fact that most people never learn. Breath is contagious. Breathing is a one bodily function that exists at the intersection of the conscious and the unconscious, and because of mirror neurons, when you deliberately regulate your breathing, you become a biological anchor for the people around you. Here's the technique. Without drawing attention to it, begin taking slow diaphragmatic breaths. In through the nose for a count of 4, out through the mouth for a count of 6. Stay grounded in your body, even as the conversation escalates around you. You're not suppressing the energy in the room. You're offering the room a new energetic baseline to synchronize with. This is what we mean when we say you control the room, not through volume, through nervous system regulation. The micro-gesture delay, the 3-second rule. Now let's bring it to the level of hand movements and micro-expressions. Research in behavioral mirroring shows that real rapport happens at the unconscious level, and unconscious synchrony always has a slight temporal delay. When your aggressor makes a sharp hand gesture, a point, a chop, or a spread of the fingers, wait 3 seconds, then echo a softer, rounder version of that movement back to them. Why rounder? Because you're not reflecting their aggression, you're reflecting their intensity and gently de-escalating its edge. Over time, they unconsciously feel mirrored, heard, acknowledged. Their brain relaxes the fight response because their body believes they've found a fellow traveler. The last 3 words rule. Now we move into the verbal dimension, and this is where things get genuinely elegant. One of the most disarming tools in your communication arsenal is deceptively simple, the last 3 words rule. Here's how it works. When the aggressor finishes a statement, you echo their last 3 words back to them with genuine, curious tone, not sarcasm, not defensiveness, and let that echo hang in the air. Scenario 1, the deadline attack. Boss, this project was supposed to be done yesterday. Everyone is behind and no one seems to care about the timeline. You, care about the timeline. Pause. Tell me more about what's driving the urgency on this end. Notice what you didn't say. You didn't argue, you didn't apologize, you didn't collapse. You reflected their words and then you invited elaboration, which subtly repositions you as someone curious rather than combative. Scenario 2, the meeting ambush. Colleague, I can't believe we're still talking about this. It's the same mistakes every single quarter. You, every single quarter. Nod slowly. That consistency must be incredibly frustrating. You validated their emotion without validating their accusation. That's verbal alchemy. Scenario 3, the email attack. Teammate, this is exactly why no one trusts your estimates. They're always wrong. You, always wrong. Measured breath. Walk me through what you'd need to see to rebuild that trust. In 3 scenarios, 3 different forms of attack, and in each case you've turned the weapon around without firing a single shot. Vocal pacing and pitch matching. Now let's talk about pace and pitch, the acoustic architecture of de-escalation. When someone is in attack mode, their speech is typically rapid, high-pitched, staccato. Every instinct in you wants to slow down, to speak calmly, to create a contrast. But here's the paradox. Contrast reads as dismissiveness. It can actually escalate their agitation. Instead, begin by matching their pace, not their anger, their tempo. Speak at a similar clip for the first 30 to 45 seconds. This tells their nervous system, I'm tracking you, I'm with you. The power move, the mirroring to leading. Now comes the power move, the transition from mirroring to leading. Once you've established vocal rapport, once they've unconsciously synced to your rhythm, you begin with exquisite slowness to decelerate. Lengthen your vowels, create micropauses between your sentences. Let silence do the heavy lifting. Because here's the neuroscience. Once someone has unconsciously synced to your rhythm, they will follow you. You've graduated from reflecting their state to setting the new one. You are no longer reacting to the room. You are the room. The isolate and reflect method. Public confrontations are theater, and like all theater, they require an audience to sustain their energy. The isolate and reflect method is a 2-part strategic move designed to collapse the stage. Part 1, the verbal invitation. Script. I want to make sure we get this right, and I don't think we can do that justice here. Can we find 10 minutes this afternoon where it's just the 2 of us? What you've just done is remove the social proof element from their aggression. Without an audience to perform for, many toxic personalities visibly deflate. You haven't confronted them, you've redirected them. Part 2, the controlled environment. In that private space, you set the physical frame. You sit at an angle to them, not directly opposite, which triggers oppositional psychology, but roughly at a 45-degree angle. You maintain calm, open body language. You let them speak first. Reading the body language tells. Once you're in that private space and the mirroring techniques are in play, watch for these body language tells, signals that the aggressor's ego armor is cracking. The shoulder drop. When their shoulders visibly lower away from their ears, their threat response is beginning to disengage. The jaw unclench. Watch for the micro movement of a jaw releasing tension, often accompanied by a slight exhale. Hands opening. If they've been gesturing with pointed fingers or clenched fists, open hands are a signal of psychological openness. Sustained eye contact with softened brow. This signals they've shifted from performing to actually listening. When you see 2 or more of these signals cluster together, you've entered what we call the window of influence. The we-focused script, from power struggle to partnership.
This is your pivotal moment. You're going to shift the linguistic frame from adversarial to collaborative using what researchers call we language. Here's a scripted bridge you can adapt to almost any workplace conflict. The we script. Here's what I want for us. I want us to not be in the same conversation 6 months from now. So can we agree on one thing that if it changed would make the biggest difference for both of us? This script does 3 things simultaneously. It signals shared future orientation, it makes the other person feel you're invested in a mutual outcome, and it puts collaborative problem solving on the table without requiring either party to lose face. From power struggle to partnership in 2 sentences. Addressing the orchid directly, emotional autonomy. This module is for you, specifically. If you identify as a highly sensitive person, an empath, an orchid, someone who feels everything at full volume, the mirroring techniques
we've outlined today might have triggered a quiet fear. What if I mirror them and absorb them? That is a legitimate concern, and it deserves a direct answer. Here's the crucial distinction. A mirror does not absorb what it reflects. Glass doesn't become fire because it reflects flames. Your goal is to reflect their energy pattern, to synchronize with it strategically while maintaining what we call emotional autonomy, a continuous, grounded awareness of the boundary between their state and yours. This is a practiced skill, not a personality trait. It is built through repetition. The centering anchor. Before entering any high-stakes interaction, take 30 seconds to physically sense 3 things: the ground beneath your feet, the weight of your own body in the chair, and the slow rhythm of your breath. These 3 anchors prevent your mirror from becoming a sponge. The ethical influence framework. Let's address the ethics of what we're teaching, because this is not something we take lightly. Mirroring is a tool. Like any tool, its ethics are determined by its intention. We are not teaching you to manipulate. We are not teaching you to gaslight. We are not teaching you to engineer someone's behavior for your own advantage at their expense. We are teaching you to de-escalate, to create conditions where 2 people can move from dysregulation into dialogue, where aggression can metabolize into conversation, where a power struggle can become a problem-solving session. The ethical test. Ask yourself before any mirroring intervention, does this technique move us toward mutual understanding, or does it merely move me toward winning? If the answer is the latter, step back. Building a long-term reputation as an unshakable communicator. Here's the long game, and it's the one most people miss. Every time you deploy these techniques successfully, you are not just resolving a single conflict, you are building a behavioral reputation. Over weeks and months, your colleagues, your managers, even your most difficult adversaries will begin to register something about you that they can't fully articulate, that you are unshakable, that you are the calmest person in the storm, that conflict seems to dissolve in your presence. That is high-status communication. And unlike status derived from title or authority, it cannot be taken from you. It lives in the nervous systems of everyone who has ever watched you hold the room. This is your long-term return on investment, not just surviving toxic personalities, but being transformed by these encounters into someone who no longer fears them. Bringing it all together. Let's bring this home. What we've walked through today is more than a communication strategy. It's a complete neuro-linguistic framework for transforming one of the most universal sources of human suffering, the toxic workplace personality, into an experience you can not only survive, but master. We started with the science, neuromirrors, the similarity attraction effect, and the biological feedback loops that make us vulnerable to other people's dysregulation. We built your physical baseline, spinal alignment, rhythmic breathing, and the 3-second micro-gesture delay to establish nonverbal rapport without a word. We developed your verbal alchemy, the last 3 words rule, vocal pacing, and the power move from mirroring to leading to transform rapid-fire aggression into collaborative dialogue. We mastered ego demantling, isolate and reflect, reading the body language tells, and the we language script to move from public confrontation to private partnership. And we built your empath's shield, emotional autonomy, the ethical framework, and the long-term reputation of an unshakable communicator. The final truth. Here is what we want you to carry with you after you close this video. You have never been at the mercy of other people's chaos. You have simply been without the tools to recognize the pattern and redirect it. Those tools are now yours. The next time someone walks into your space with the intention of disrupting your equilibrium, you won't feel that familiar spike of dread. You'll feel something different, a quiet readiness, a sense of choice. Because you'll know that while they're performing their aggression, you're already 3 moves ahead, reading their nervous system, calibrating your mirror, and gently and visibly steering the entire interaction towards something better. That's not manipulation, that's mastery. Welcome to it. If this framework resonated with you, if you felt seen, or if you're walking away with even one tool you didn't have before, share this with someone who needs it. Drop the technique that hit hardest in the comments below, and let's build a community of people who refuse to let their sensitivity be weaponized against them. Subscribe for more animated psychology hacks, and we'll see you in the next module. Take care of yourself, and remember, the most powerful person in the room is almost never the loudest one.